Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're jumping into a really important chapter from your Class 10 Geography book. Chapter 1, Resources and Development. Honestly, this one is super important because it really changes how you look at the world. So, let's get started, shall we?
Okay, let's kick things off with a big question. One that a lot of people get wrong. Are resources just a free gift from nature? Something that's just there for us to take and use however we please. It's a common thought, right? But the truth is, it's way more complicated than that. And that's exactly what we're going to figure out together today.
So, what's on the menu for today? First, we'll cover what resources are and their different types. Then, we'll talk about development and why planning is so crucial. After that, we'll dive into India's land and soil resources. And to finish up, we'll do a quick recap and look at some practice questions for your exams. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, let's jump into our first section, resources. We'll talk about what they mean and their different types. So the most basic question is, what exactly is a resource?
Okay, so here's the textbook definition. A resource is basically anything in our environment that we can use to satisfy our needs. But, and this is super important, it's not that simple. For something to be called a resource, it has to meet 3 conditions. 1, it has to be technologically accessible. That means we need to have the tech to actually get to it and use it. 2, it needs to be economically feasible. In simple words, it shouldn't cost a fortune to get it, right? It has to be worth it. And 3, it must be culturally acceptable. This means our society has to be okay with us using it. Make sense?
Now, take a look at this triangle. This shows a really important relationship between nature, technology, and institutions. Things like our government or companies. But what's right in the middle? Human beings. Us. We are the key ingredient here. We interact with nature, we use technology, and we create these institutions to turn stuff from the environment into something useful, into a resource. So this goes back to our first question. Are resources a free gift? No way. They're created by human activities.
Whoa, that's a lot of boxes. But don't worry, this flowchart just shows us all the different ways we can classify resources. You can see the big split right at the top, natural and human, and then each of those branches out. Let's break this down a bit more simply.
Okay, so there are 4 main ways we categorize resources. First, based on origin. Is it biotic, meaning it's alive, like plants and animals? Or is it abiotic, non-living, like rocks and metals? Simple. Second, based on exhaustibility. Can it run out? If it's renewable, like sunshine or wind, we can keep using it. If it's non-renewable, like coal or petrol, once it's gone, it's gone. Third is ownership. Does it belong to an individual, a community, the whole nation, or is it international? And finally, based on its status of development, we have potential, developed, stock, and reserves. And hey, make sure you know this table well. It's super important for your board exams.
So, we know what resources are. Great, but that leads to the next big topic, development and planning. Why do we even need to plan? Why can't we just, use whatever we want, whenever we want? What's the big deal?
Well, that's the thing. Using resources without any thought, what the book calls indiscriminate use, has caused some huge problems. For one, a few greedy people have used up so many resources that they're starting to run out. That's depletion. Secondly, resources have ended up in the hands of a very few rich people, creating a huge gap between the rich and the poor. And third, and this is a big one, it has led to global disasters like global warming, crazy pollution, and ruined land. So yeah, it's a very big deal.
So, how do we fix this mess? The answer is a really, really important idea called sustainable development. All it means is this: we should develop in a way that doesn't wreck the environment, and we shouldn't use up everything so that there's nothing left for future generations. It's about balancing our needs today with their needs tomorrow. You absolutely have to know this definition for your exams. It's a classic question.
To make this sustainable development thing happen worldwide, leaders from all over the globe got together for a huge meeting called the Earth Summit. This was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, way back in 1992. And there, they signed a big declaration called Agenda 21. The goal was basically to give the world a plan to fight environmental damage, poverty, and disease, all while developing sustainably.
And this whole idea isn't new. Gandhiji said something really powerful that sums it all up perfectly. He said, "There is enough for everybody's need, and not for anybody's greed." It's a simple line, but it captures the entire philosophy of using resources wisely.
Okay, so how does a huge, diverse country like India actually plan its resources? Well, it's a pretty complex job, but we can break it down into 3 main steps. Step 1 is identification and inventory.
This is where we go out, survey, map, and basically make a list of what resources we have and where. Step 2 is to create a planning structure. This means getting the right technology, skills, and organizations ready to do the job. And step 3 is matching these plans with national goals. And definitely focus on this one. It's a very common long answer question.
Let's move on to a resource we use every single day, something we're standing on right now, land. It's so obviously important, right? We live on it, farm on it, build on it. All our economic activity happens on land. So it's a super vital asset for India.
This chart gives us a nice, simple picture of India's land. See that big slice? About 43% of our land is plains, perfect for farming and building cities. Then we have mountains, making up about 30%. They're so important because that's where our rivers start. And that last chunk, 27%, is the plateau region. Think of it as India's treasure chest. It's packed with minerals, fossil fuels, and forests.
But here's the bad news. We haven't always treated our land very well. That brings us to our next topic, land degradation. It's a fancy term for the quality of land going down. So we'll look at the problem, and then we'll look at the solutions. So what's causing all this damage? Well, nature plays a small part, let's be honest. It's mostly us. Human activities are the main culprit. Things like cutting down forests or deforestation, letting animals overgraze, huge mining operations that leave scars on the land, and in some places, over-irrigation. For instance, in states like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, mining is the big problem. But if you go to Punjab or Haryana, over-irrigation is what's damaging the land.
Okay, so how do we fix it? The good news is there are solutions. The opposite of deforestation is afforestation, planting more trees. We need to manage grazing properly. In dry, windy areas, planting rows of trees called shelter belts can help a lot. We can also stabilize sand dunes. And, of course, we need to control mining activities and make sure industries treat their waste properly.
Now let's dig a little deeper. Literally, let's talk about soil. It's not just dirt. Soil is a living system. It's probably our most important renewable resource because without it, we can't grow food. It's the foundation of almost all life on land.
India has many different kinds of soil, but the king of all soils is alluvial soil. It's the most common and also the most fertile. Where does it come from? It's basically the fine silt brought down by our great rivers, the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. Now there are two types based on age. Bungar is the older alluvial soil, and Kadar is the new stuff, which is even more fertile. This is the soil that's perfect for growing things like sugarcane, rice, and wheat.
Next up, we have black soil. Its other name is rugger soil, and you'll often hear it called black cotton soil. Why? Because it is absolutely perfect for growing cotton. You'll find it mainly in the Deccan Plateau area, like in Maharashtra. Its superpower is that it can hold a lot of moisture, which is great for crops. Just like the last one, this is a super important topic for your exams, so make sure you know it well.
Phew, we've covered a lot of ground today. So before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of the most important points, and then we'll look at some classic exam questions to get you ready.
Okay, here are the top 5 things you need to remember. Number 1, for something to be a resource, it needs to be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. Number 2, using resources carelessly leads to big problems. Number 3, sustainable development is the key for our future. Number 4, land degradation is mainly caused by human activities. And number 5, alluvial and black soils are 2 of India's major soil types, and they both have very different features.
And last but not least, here are some sample questions. You'll see questions like these a lot in your board exams. So my advice? Take some time to actually write down the answers to these. It's the best way to practice and make sure you really understand the chapter. And with that, we're at the end of Chapter 1. I really hope this helped. Remember, this chapter isn't just about memorizing facts for an exam. It's about understanding that the resources we use every day are vital for our planet's survival. Learning how to protect them is a responsibility for every single one of us. So study hard, all the very best for your exams, and I'll see you in the next one.